Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. Yesterday we discussed how to write an outline for your paper, for your article, for your essay, and we also discussed in detail the thesis statement, the role of thesis statement in your writing. And today the subject of my lecture is sketching out your supporting details. So you can say this is the leftover part of the yesterday's lecture. We will stretch the yesterday's lecture further today. So once you have a tentative thesis, it is time to focus on what you want to say about the thesis and how will you support it. So this is the case. Now, if you have a tentative thesis, a temporary thesis, then your focus should be that what you want to say in the next paper, next in the paper, and how will you support it. The first step is to list the main ideas you want to express in your paper. So after writing the thesis statement, the first step should be writing the main ideas, right, through which you will express your thoughts in the paper. Then you will need to link each main idea with supporting details. So this should be your next task, that once you have written all those ideas, main ideas, and then what will you do? You will link each main idea with supporting details. Of course, if you just write the main ideas and if you do not give the supporting details, so it will not be a very authentic paper. So supporting details are pieces of information that you can use to make your point and to make your main points. Yes, these supporting details actually invigorate it, they facilitate, they uphold, they support your main points, like main point support your thesis statement. Examples of types of supporting details are listed below here. Types of supporting details. First of all, you have anecdotes. Anecdotes include the stories or descriptions of experiences you have had or heard about. And for example, if you have any specific instances of a general idea, you can put it there in your supporting details. And the next one is fact. Statements that can be verified in reference materials such as databases, dictionaries, encyclopedias, college textbooks, or other specialized sources through interviews with experts or by making direct observations as well. So all these facts can come under the canopy of supporting details. And the third one is opinions, and it includes judgments, your predictions, especially those of experts, right? It does not only include your personal experience, predictions or judgments. It also includes opinions of especially of expert in the field. Quotations does mean a verbatim or word for word statements made by other people such as experts, right? You can also use these quotations in your supporting details, right? And the next one is statistics. Facts that are written as percentages, ratios, or in other numeric forms. So these things which like percentages, ratios, numeric forms, etc., they also come under statistics, or you can say supporting details as well. You may already have a list of supporting details in mind. If you aren't sure how each main idea will be supported in your paper, you might go back to your exploratory strategy in lesson 2, or you can list the main ideas on a sheet of paper. So this is the main one. Another technique would be to organize your main ideas and supporting details graphically. Yes, you can also give these supporting details in the aforementioned manner, right? But you also give the main can also give the main ideas and the supporting details graphically as well. We will discuss those methods later in the lecture. Following are just a few examples of graphic organizers you can use to categorize the information you plan to put in your paper. Here is the first example of the graphic in putting your information graphically. First of all, you can put your information through Venn diagrams. What are Venn diagrams? Venn diagrams are commonly used to show how two or more things are alike and different, right? This type of diagram might help to organize your supporting details for a comparison and contrast paragraph. Of course, if you have some information, you have some similar information, and you also have some different information, right? You can put the information like this as well. If you are planning to write an essay or an article or a paper, and first of all, you will of course make an outline of the paper, right? You can make an outline in this way as well. First, you can draw a Venn diagram, and you can put the similar information in this portion, right here. If you have similar points about two things, and you have some differences at different points, you can put them here in this form, right? So Venn diagrams are used to organize similarities and differences. If you have been given such a topic where you are to code the similarities and differences, where you are to write or highlight the similarities and differences, you can use Venn diagrams. Then we have spider maps. Spider maps are often used to describe one central concept. Yes, if you have one central concept, that is, you can say the thesis statement. You might use a spider map, and you might use this type of diagram to organize your supporting details for a paper describing a person or an event. So spider maps are used to describe one central concept, first thing. Then you also use this diagram to organize your supporting details for a paper describing a person or event or an event. For example, you might use a spider map when writing a paper about a specific character in a piece of literature you have read. Yes, you might use this paragraph, this spider map, when you are writing a paper about a specific character in a piece of literature, right? In a novel or drama, etc. Here, what do you do here? You first of all you draw a kind of rectangular shape or a square shape, and there you put the central concept. Then you draw four lines here, you four nodes from this central concept, or five or six or seven. It depends upon the number of main ideas. You can draw as many lines as you have the number of ideas, right? So here, if you have four main ideas, you can draw four lines from this rectangle, and you will put your main ideas here, right? You will just mention uh, as the starting or the main points of the main idea, right? Then from the main idea you further draw one, two, three, four, how as many nodes as you required, right? And those nodes are actually specifically are drawn for details, right? Supporting details. So this is how you draw a spider map. Then we have series maps. Series maps are used to organize a series of events or steps in a process, right? Here you organize a series of events or steps in a process. Series maps are often used to organize a series of events or steps in a process. You could use this type of diagram to help you organize the information you plan to put in how to paper, or to explain a multi-step process, right? So here you organize your information in a information, or you organize your series of events or of steps in process. So first of all, you draw a kind of a box, and where you put for event number one, then two, then three, then four, then at the end you put the summary or the conclusion. Then next in the list we have timelines. Timelines is such a map, or such a graph where you which you use to sequence events over time, right? So here you organize your events chronologically, right, according to the time. And in the previous one we just organize our series of events or steps in a process, but here we are using this in a chronological fashion. Timelines are good for organizing chronological information. You might use a timeline to help you organize the information you plan to put in a history paper, or to organize the events that lead up to the climax in a novel. Yes, if you want to put some events, or you can say uh, something with, according to the time, according to chronological order, you use this timeline, or you use this type of graph. You put first event first, that is according to the date. If first event happened in January, and the second happened in February, and the third one happened in April or March, etc., you will put it according to that time, right? Chronologically, you will not put the event that happened in the April, and that happened in April 1st, and then you cannot put the event that happened in January and at second position, right? You will have to be very cautious about the time in such kind of graphs. Then next in the list, you have hierarchical maps. These diagrams are very typical in composition classes. They are a good way to organize your arguments in a persuasive piece of writing. Yes, it is a very good map, and you use this in a persuasive, in a fascinating piece of writing, right? And it's very common in the composition classes as well. Hierarchical maps. What do we do? What do we do here? First of all, we give a thesis or thesis statement. Then we give our main idea, as many branches from the main block as we need for the main idea, right? If we have two main ideas, then we draw two further, take two further, two boxes from the first box. And if we have four main ideas, then we will draw four, extract four boxes, etc. Here we have two main ideas, so we will use two boxes here. Then again, we will give the supporting details right here, and we can also put extra information in these boxes as well further, right? So here we do these boxes for the sake of detail. So this is a very persuasive or fascinating map. Then in the list, we have sequence charts. Like timelines and series maps, sequence charts can be useful in organizing items that follow a specific sequence, such as events and steps. For example, you could use a sequence chart to organize information about the phases in a scientific process. Yes, in this sequence chart, what do? You just give the events in a sequence, right? So you can say that these sequence charts can be useful in organizing items that follow a specific sequence. For example, steps and events, etc. Here you give the first event, then event number 2, 3, 4, etc. Then here we have a question or the practice session. So you can here in question number 5 is regarding this thesis statement. Choose one of the thesis statement from the last practice set, and then use yes, I we discussed said some thesis statements in the yesterday's lecture. So select one of those thesis statement from the last practice test, then use one of the graphic organizers described here to sketch out your supporting details. So use one of the thesis statements we discussed yesterday, and then apply the then with the help of these graphics organizers or maps, you can try to sketch out your supporting details as well. Writing tips. It is important to organize your writing in a logical way so that your reader can easily understand what you're saying. Here are some examples of logical organization. These are very important points here. Types of logical organization. First of all, you have chronological or sequential order. Whenever you are going to write a paper, write an essay or an article, etc., try to keep these things in your mind, right? At the start of your writing. First of all, focus on chronological or sequential order. So you should be very careful about this chronological or sequential order. You should tell what did, should, or will happen first, second, third, and so on. So in this way, you should not be telling the number 3 thing at the first place, and then you are putting the first information at the last, right? So this will give an awkward look, or you can say a bad look to your writing. And then in the list, you have cause and effect. It is a very important point as well. Telling how events causes result in other events effects, or telling about events effects and then explaining why they happen causes, right? So you should tell the causes, effects behind the causes behind events or effects, right? So and the same is the case. You should same is the case here, that you should first of all you should give the effects of the causes, then you should give the causes of the effects as well. If you're telling that telling in an essay or a paper that a glass has broken, you should tell the uh, reason behind that. So if you are telling that you are going to throw a glass on the floor, what will happen? Yes, you will give the effect that glass will break down into different pieces, right? So this is a way you should tell the effects of the causes. Then if you are giving effects, then you should give the causes of the effects. Compare and contrast. It does mean telling how ideas are alike in different. Yes, if you are given such a topic where you are supposed to give compare and contrast, you should compare and contrast information, other things. Order of degree, telling how different ideas can be ranked in importance, familiarity, complexity, and so on. Yes, order of degree also matters. You tell that how different ideas can be ranked, can be ranked in importance, familiarity, complexity, and so on. You should be very careful about these things as well, that give due position, due importance to the important point, to the familiar point, and kind of you should give due position, due respect, or due details to the complex points as well, right? You should be careful about these things as well while you are writing your outline or your paper. And then the special order, it tell how things are arranged in space. For example, top to bottom, bottom to top, near to far, inside out, and so on. So it tells the space, that how things are arranged in the paper. For example, you see the things from top to bottom, bottom to top, right to left, and left to right, inside out, near to far, etc. You can use these organization structures for your entire paper, or just for a portion of your paper. You might use more than one structure depending on the purpose of different parts of your paper. A word about outlines. Uh, You have probably been asked to write an outline for a paper before, and this thought might make you cringe. If you have gotten this far in the pre-writing process, however, you probably already have an outline or an informal one. If you have attended a thesis and have sketched out your main ideas and supporting details in a graphic design organizer in a list or in any way that makes sense to you, then you have an informal outline. So it shows that if you have after reading all, after listening to the lectures yesterday and today, after reading all these things, if you have a tentative thesis in your mind about any topic and you have some supporting details which make sense to you, it does mean that you have informal outline. You have already designed or prepared an informal outline. However, an outline is just a guide for what you will say in your paper. Outline is not, it does not mean that it is your complete essay or paper. It is just an outline or just a guide for what will say for in your paper next, right? Or it's just a plan. So a more formal outline might look like this one. This is the kind of more formal outline for your paper. For example, here you have thesis, and Anthony's funeral oration in the play Julius Caesar shows several forms of emotional appeal. So here, the thesis statement tells about the funeral oration of Anthony's in the play Julius Caesar. So it tells us the thesis statement tells us that that the funeral oration of Anthony in the play Julius Caesar shows uh, us several forms of emotional appeal, right? So this is the thesis statement. Then we have further four main points, and then we will discuss these main points, and we will support them with the help of supporting details next in the lecture. This is kind of formal outline. Then you also have conclusion, right? Conclusion is Anthony uses several forms of emotionalism to manipulate his audience. So this is a complete formal thesis, complete formal outline. And next, so why should you bother making an outline before writing? First, an outline. So why should we write an outline before writing? Why should we bother to write this one? Why? Because first of all, an outline helps you to think through what you'll say, so it can save you time when you actually start writing. So first of all, it helps us in thinking through what we will do in the next in the paper, right? And it will also save us time when we'll actually start writing. And secondly, or in addition, it can show omissions in your paper, right? With the help of this outline, we can just get the omissions in your paper. We can scan the main points. We can omit the unnecessary details. Third one, an outline can even help you avoid writer's block. Yes, it can also help us avoid our writer's block, and one of the most important reasons to do an outline before you start writing is to help you evaluate your thesis. Yes, another advantage of this outline is that we can evaluate our thesis statement at the start, right? And is your thesis narrow enough? It tells us whether our thesis is narrow enough or it's good enough to expand and to write more about this, or to expand upon. Is it too broad? It also tells us that whether our thesis is too narrow or too broad. Can you support it adequately? So can we support our thesis statement adequately? Yes, and an outline can tell, it can tell us that. If we do not write an outline, if we just start writing immediately after seeing the topic, so we will not be able to judge or examine or know these points beforehand. Here is how to use your outline to test your pre-writing material. So this is how you can use your outline to test whether you are to test your pre-writing material, right? If you have more to say then you can fit in your outline, you probably need to refocus your thesis statement. Is too broad. It is too broad. So after reading your outline, if you think that you still have more to say, or if you think that if you still have more points that can fit in your outline, so you probably need to go back to your thesis statement because it could be too broad, right? So you should narrow it down a little. If you cannot find enough to say in your outline, your thesis is probably too narrow. So another way to check your outline is if you cannot find enough to say in your outline, you should go back to your thesis statement. It might be too narrow, so that's why you are not able to give more about the outline, more in the outline. You should consider making it broader. Yes, if you have tried different ways of exploring and researching your topic and you still cannot find enough evidence to support your thesis, you should reconsider your thesis. You might want to write a new thesis that can support. Yes, of course, if you have tried a number of ways of exploring and researching your topic and you're still unable to get enough evidence or supports for your thesis, so it does mean you should again go back to your thesis or thesis statement. You should reconsider it. You might want to write a new thesis statement that you can support with the supporting details. If your outline is still sound after putting it to this test, then you are ready to start writing. If you think that your outline is sound, is present, it's okay, you should start writing. Question number 6. Go back to the work you did in question 5 and write up your thesis and supporting details in outline style. So here, what you have to do, go back to question 5 where you will write a thesis statement and then supporting details with the help of a graphic organizer. Then what will you do here? You will use that thesis statement and supporting details and you will make an outline here in question number 6. In question number 7, you need to do this thing. Now use the outline you wrote in question 6 to evaluate your thesis. So use the outline which you will write in question 6 and you will evaluate your thesis on the basis of that outline. Is your thesis broad enough, narrow enough? Can you support it adequately? Explain your answer. So if you think that your thesis is broad or narrow enough, or it is or can you support it adequately, just explain your answer in question number 7. This is um, for your own practice. So try doing it because it will facilitate you in writing these things in the practical situation. Thank you very much for watching this lecture. If you have any question, please do ask.